Awesome. Well, thank you, Sarah. Sarah is a really, really great person. I work with her personally, and I know she, she cares about what she does, and that means really a lot. So thank you, Sarah, for joining us. Hey,
Thanks, Jackie.
hey, Tiffany, how you doing?
Hi, good.
That's great. That's great. Hey, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, who you are.
Okay. My name is Tiffany. I am a food and safety specialist and chef consultant here in Atlanta. I work with a company called F&B Safety Solutions. We provide restaurants, retail locations, food trucks, anything that has to do with food. We do menu consulting, concept consulting, online training for all the staffs, pretty much the whole rundown of training and development for the back of the house and the front of the house.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Tiffany, for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes. So, hey, Ben, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
My name is Ben Green, and I work with Ecolab. Ecolab is a large hygiene services company. So anything to do with cleaning and sanitation, we get involved with. We have many different divisions, but for the purpose of this call and my role, I'm involved in our food service division. So I work primarily with restaurants, and I support Cisco Atlanta with their entire cleaning and sanitation and Ecolab program. We have over 100 service associates in the greater Atlanta area, and Cisco Atlanta has a good number of associates as well. So I work together with our team, the Cisco team, and with our customers to make sure everyone has the proper products, training, and documentation to get clean, sanitized, and disinfected kitchens and front of the house.
Awesome. Well, we know we need that really, really now. I mean, a lot of these, that what you do is kind of in our industry, but especially now.
Yeah, he's gonna be the star of the show today.
Yes. Okay. And we have also we have Deidre. Deidre is she is on the line as well.
Yes. Hi.
Hey, Deidre, how you doing?
Doing well. So like she said, my name's Deidre. I'm head of operations for a company called Cloud Kitchens. And basically what we do is we primarily focus on building delivery only kitchen facilities. And what we do is provide restaurateurs a small kitchen in which they get to run a delivery only business through the various platforms. So definitely have a different perspective in this COVID situation, as delivery and pickup is become, the primary driver of restaurateurs' revenue. So super interested and excited to chat with you guys today.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate you all. You taking out time in your busy schedules to be on this call, to share your information and resources. And right now, I'm going to be freestyling a little bit. I had a lineup and I have some technical issues. But I got a good team. So what are the new ways of operating a restaurant after COVID-19? Can anybody tell me that?
Yeah, I can hop in here and answer this question. So the primary focus is after COVID-19 is most restaurateurs and restaurants are having to pivot to more of a focus on delivery and or pickup, but also safety, right? In this new space. In terms of delivery and pickup, one of the big ways that restaurateurs are having to really focus is providing the same level of experience for a delivery order as they would in store. And that can come in multiple ways, right? Packaging, reviews, wait times, delivery times. but really staying connected to customers when you can't see them face to face has been a big change for a lot of restaurateurs in how they interact and connect with their clientele. And then from safety, right? Like there's a bigger issue. You can't just throw things in a bag. You have to, you want to ensure that once it leaves the kitchen, that when it gets to, the person's home or when they pick it up and they take it home, that it's tamper free. And so there are things like, adding tamper free stickers. There are delivery bags that once you seal and only the customer can tear it open. There are a lot of ways that restaurants are having to ensure that their food stays safe. And also create a peace of mind for people as the food comes to their door, that if they don't feel like it's been tampered and that the kitchen prepared their food with with safety in mind. So I think that those are kind of the two ways in which I've seen my restaurants that are in our facilities really take a new approach since we've been in shelter in place in most cities and states.
I wanted to piggyback off of what you said as far as like delivery and food safety, because that's going to be like a huge concern because we are dealing with a public health crisis. So what I would suggest is like take your restaurant operation standpoint and revamp it as if you're opening up a restaurant for the first time in a pandemic. So from point A all the way to the beginning of what you're doing with your operations to the end of the operations, making sure that you're doing health inspections on a daily basis, because at the end of the day, the guest wants to know that you're operating at like the highest standard of cleanliness so that they don't get an infection. When it comes to delivery, making sure that the food is not only not tampered with, but also that it's staying at that appropriate temperature, that it's cold if it needs to stay cold, it's warm if it needs to stay warm. When you were talking about the guest interactions, a lot of things are going to be changing from face-to-face conversations to a little more technology-based. So having your staff trained upon technology ways, and the POS systems are being more on a delivery and curbside type of interaction instead of just, hey, handing you a menu. We're doing a lot more touchless type of functions now.
Yeah, and following up on the tamper evident labels, that's something our customers have told us is a big thing for them. And we sell the labels. I mean, they're a penny or two a piece, but to just spend a penny or two to give your customers the peace of mind that they know that you're taking the precautions to keep them safe, that's what's going to make them come back to your restaurant. I saw a study the other day, a poll, and I couldn't believe it, but it said 49% of delivery drivers have admitted to smelling people's food while they're delivering it and thinking about taking a bite. And then it was something like 20% actually did take a bite or messed with the food or did something. And at the end of the day, with all these different delivery apps out there, those aren't your employees. You don't know the people, and you haven't done a background check. You haven't worked with them before necessarily. So you really can't trust them. So by putting something like a tamper evident label on your delivery bags, if you're going that route, it's a penny or two, and it will significantly impact your customer's perception, which will make them want to come back and dine with you again.
Right. And to piggyback on the communication, I think that it's important, one, to be taking these measures, but two, to be communicating them to your customers, both in-house and online, so that they know that you're taking these measures. And, one creative idea that I've seen is customers doing what they called a sanitation love letter, and saying, just writing a quick note or printing a printed letter that kind of outlined what their old and additional procedures are, so that it's clear that they're taking additional measures, and then just throwing that note as a thank you in with each takeout bag. So everybody's getting their takeout food with maybe a tamper evident label and a little note that says, hey, these are the measures that we're taking now to ensure your safety.
Yeah, I think that all you guys touched on a lot of the great things that's needed. I mean, it's collectively, you have to do all these things to to, you know, it's like starting all over again, starting your business all over again, winning your customers' trust and rebranding yourself, just everything all in one. So I think that's great. So we're gonna go to our next question, which is what are the steps restaurants need to take to choose to reopen their dine-in area? So that's of course, for everybody's in Atlanta, there's been a lot of controversy on between the city being divided in some ways, and I understand on both sides from both parties um, of opening. You know, some restaurants, and I'm sure Sarah, you can speak on this. I'll let you go on the steps and how you feel about everything. Yeah.
Well, so much of it is very specific to the restaurant that you're running and what the limitations on space are. But you know, some basic things that you can do are, you know, removing some of the seating from your dining area to make sure that the tables are spaced properly. You can do things like moving your hostess stand outside so that you don't have a lot of people pooling in a, you know, lobby area waiting for a table. If you're unable to move outside, one of the things you could do is limit it to one per party on who can come and stand in the lobby to wait for their table to be ready. A couple other things that I've seen is you may want to designate parking spaces for pickup and delivery that if that's a new part of your business, try to make it convenient for your customers to come in and pick up food. I'm trying to think. I think that's all I have on reconfiguring space.
Yeah, well, those are a lot of great pointers that's needed, and like you have to pretty much redo your whole layout. You know, anything, Ben or Tiffany?
I was going to say the most important thing I think is to follow the CDC, the NRA, and your state's local public health authorities, because they really do give a layout as far as how to make sure that your restaurant opens up properly. On their website, I was looking at this morning, they have all these templates and just a bunch of resources, free resources for the restaurants and the owners to pretty much give a step-by-step what to do, how to do it. And then I think for restaurants, just designating somebody or a couple of people on your team to just be focused on that, because those are going to change on a weekly, on a daily basis. As far as like your business model, how one day it can be, you can only have a capacity of 25% for the phase one, but then for the next phase, it's 50%. And like what Sarah was saying, like controlling your hostess stand and making sure that there's not a crowd in front of your door, making sure that your customers know before they even come into the restaurant, before they even come to the desk, that they know that, hey, we are a company that's making sure that all of our associates are being kept safe. We want to make sure our customers are on the same page, posting it on your social media website, sending out emails, so that this whole new change that comes about, it's not a surprise when they come to your restaurant that there's confusion. You want to make sure there's still that perfect flow that you've had beforehand when they get there, that they still know that this is the front desk, we put in our orders, and we can only go one way in and one way out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Deidre, do you have anything to add on to that?
You know, very little. I think Sarah and Tiffany said it really well. The only thing I would add would be two things. One, move slow, like to give yourself time to, you know, accept our new normal, at least our new temporary normal, right? Don't attempt to open your normal hours, right? So let's start with just lunch. That way it gives you and your team time to get into a groove and a rhythm, or just start with just dinner for a couple days or maybe a week. And that way you can also figure out what good looks like for you and your business. And then also take, you know, extra safety precautions. Like I know some restaurants are sticking to only paper utensils and things for a short period of time to eliminate the potential for cross-contamination or things of that nature, right? Like what are some small things you might do just to ensure that everyone's safe and that you're limiting how much people, how much of your, utensils and silverware that people are interacting with as you reopen up. But I would just say move slow. We don't know what good looks like, right? This is our first pandemic, at least in our generation. Give yourself some leeway that, you're gonna, maybe mess up and figure some things out as you go along.
Yeah, okay, that's good. That is,
Yeah.
that's
With regards to understanding the rules, I know Tiffany was saying about, understanding the guidelines is important. I did share with you this week in my email a 39-point checklist that's in an easy form to follow. So I think you could share that with the group after the meeting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, definitely will do.
And
Ben, you have any
yeah, just from a cleaning and disinfecting standpoint, we're currently in remediation, and so it's really important that all restaurants increase the frequency of their disinfection of high touch point surfaces, and make a plan, train your staff on the plan, and then make sure that they follow through on the plan and perform enhanced procedures, whether it's checklists. I know we're on Cisco has checklists, cleanwithkeystone.com. There's a lot of different areas that have these checklists to ensure that your staff is following through on the plan. And I'd also, I've been having this conversation a lot recently, so I want to make sure everyone's aware. There's a big difference between sanitizing and disinfection. Sanitizing is what we did previously, and it doesn't quite kill as many bacteria or viruses as disinfecting. What we need to be doing now is disinfecting, and a lot of companies are trying to sell you something that can kill COVID-19. The fact of the matter is the EPA hasn't said whether any product can kill COVID-19, but they have an approved list of products that have emerging viral pathogen claims, and they're on their website for anyone to easily search and find. So I would just do your due diligence. Once you find a product you want to use to disinfect your restaurants and train your staff, make sure you have the information. You can search by EPA registration number on the website and ensure you have the right product to combat COVID-19, and partner with your chemical provider and use them as a resource to do training for your staff, to educate your staff on the importance of disinfection, because right now it's the most important thing. And when customers do come into your business, they're going to want to see you cleaning. They're not going to mind waiting a couple minutes for a table. They want to feel safe, and they want to see you performing enhanced procedures.
Yeah, I was going to pick up on what you said, Ben. The EPA actually did release, I don't know if it was updated, but they did release a approved list of things that actually kill coronavirus. So there is a whole list of things that are approved by them to disinfect and kill the actual coronavirus.
Yeah, they're updating it on a regular basis because obviously this is so brand new. No one has kill claims on it. But they're approving products as they come to them and as they can do their due diligence. So I just guide everyone to go to the EPA as the best resource as far as products that actually can be used to combat COVID-19, because they're the ones doing the research and they have the best information. So it's super easy to search, super easy to look up, and it gives you all the information like dwell times, kill claims, the manufacturer. It's just good to have in a time like this.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thanks, Ben. Yeah, I agree. You gotta keep it. You gotta do all the above. You gotta have somebody designated, paying attention to things, disinfecting. It's like a consistency of everything, just to maintain and making sure your customers. Even somebody was saying maybe even take pictures or something, or snapshots of you cleaning, or some, have signs up showing that, hey, we're taking, our precautions to stay clean, and just to make customers feel, safe. So that's great. We'll get on to the next question, trying to stay on course here. Will restaurants need to move to more disposable product-based supplies for the sanitary concerns, such as menus, plates, forks, etc.? And what are some of the cost-effective ways to incorporate these costs into their models?
I don't think restaurants will need to go completely disposable. When you think about like plastic and silverware, they're not sterile when you get them. Like the other kind of packaging, but they're not sterile, so they're still being touched from the time they're made up until the time that they get to us. I think we can still do like pre-rolled settings, and I saw on Twitter the other day over in China, they're sanitizing the plates in front of the guests, or disinfecting the plates in front of the guests. Not pre-setting the tables anymore, but doing like taking away all the disposable things that can get in the way, but everything else doesn't need to be like disposable.
One thing that you mentioned was the menus. And if you are going to reuse menus, I think one of the guidelines is sanitizing between use. So that's kind of tedious. So a disposable menu, single use menu is possibly advisable just for the, practicality of it.
Mhm.
And then, we've focused a lot on the sanitation aspect of reopening, but one of the things for operators to consider is their profitability and kind of streamlining some of their processes in order to better maintain profitability. Pre-COVID, it was in vogue to have a really large menu with a lot of items to serve all kinds of people, and have something for everyone. But with the constraints that we're seeing with time and labor and all of the new guidelines, the more you can do to streamline some of your processes, I think that the easier time you're going to have with reopening. So like I would say take this time to reevaluate your menu and maybe cost it out and make sure that the items that you're serving are profitable to begin with. And then when you're thinking about maybe paring down your menu, think about, is it profitable? Is it portable? With most of these orders now being delivered or carried out, does it travel well, right? Is it popular? And what's the method of preparation? Is it something that takes a lot of labor to prepare? Maybe you want to cut that item out and go with something that is a little less labor intensive, because you really are going to also need to consider your staffing needs. As a reopening, you may find that some of your employees aren't available to come back and you're working with fewer man hours.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Yeah, that's some great tips. Definitely have to look at how you plan out everything in the menu. You might not be able to. A lot of people have already adjusted their menus already with with the delivery because certain things weren't selling.
And to give everyone, to make everyone aware, it's a question we've gotten a lot. The CDC has released information and told us that the standard dishwashing procedure in your dish machine and your 3-bay sink, the wash, rinse, sanitize procedure that all restaurants were supposed to follow previously, with a certain amount of sanitizer in the final step of that 3-step process, whether it's the dish machine or the 3-bay, that same process has been shown to eliminate all viruses in the past, and they're approving it for the current environment. So there's nothing special as far as your dishware or your silverware that you need to do to clean and sanitize. Whatever you were doing previously, as long as you were following the rules, you can continue to do that. So put you at ease a little bit as far as that goes.
Right. Thanks, Dan.
I think touch menus
mhm.
also, like incorporating touchless menus now, and then calling in menus as well. Just get rid of menus completely might be an option that restaurants can look at.
Okay. Deidre, do you have anything to add on to that?
I don't think I have anything to add. I think they covered it all.
Okay. All righty. Well, we'll move on to the next question. What's needed to rehire trained staff and practice safety guidelines?
Training. Like emphasize that enough. And like Deidre was
How
saying,
does how does that training look like? You know, we say training, but like,
so
what
making sure all your staff, I know previously restaurants, they were mostly focused on the back of the house, having serve safe certifications and food handler certifications. But I think now it's more than ever necessary that everyone who comes in contact with the guests and with the food is certified, from the managers all the way down to the busters. Everyone needs to know how to make sure things are hand washing protocols, making sure that they know what they need to wear, how to groom themselves before they come into the restaurant, and taking their time with the actual steps. So someone needs to be in charge of saying, okay, when you come to the restaurant, you have a new chef jacket, changing the way that we do operations. So you're not coming into work already clothed, like you're changing when you get there, because all those contaminants you're already involved with, and making sure that everyone has those ideas in their head on a daily basis. So doing daily updates, making sure the staff knows text messages, hey, do you guys wash your hands today? Signage everywhere, not only in the back of the house, but in the front of the house, in the bathrooms, on like just posted everywhere so that everyone can't give an excuse to say, hey, I forgot. Because that's the last thing you want, is for your restaurant to be an outbreak center.
I know I used to have a restaurant in St. Louis, and I used to do a drill. Stop what you're doing and wash your hands. And when I did use on site, I used to be looking at the camera to see who actually would stop to wash their hands. So it's definitely needed. Definitely has to be enforced. Any other anything from you, Sarah or Deidre?
I know that ServeSafe is actually offering free online food handling courses right now. So you could easily have everyone on your staff take that course and be a little more prepared for what needs to be done with regards to food handling. Just to be clear, though, it's not the regular ServeSafe certification. So you would still have to have somebody on staff each shift that has the ServeSafe certification, but this is just a food handling and safety course that's available.
Yeah, that is great, and definitely everyone is needed to have one now. It's very mandatory on that. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, I think there's some safety guidelines that you have to have two approaches. You have an approach from an optics perspective, right? Customers are going to want to see us physically cleaning. So we need to make a plan for that. But then we also need to make sure that we're touching, everything that we know that can be contaminated. So it's not just saying, oh, I'm cleaning in downtimes, or do a really great clean at the beginning of the day, or a really great clean at the end of the day, or in between lunch and dinner. Like, that's great. We definitely want to do that. But there needs to be like a consistent schedule on high touch areas, doorknobs, menus, chairs, swing doors, right? If a customer is sitting in your restaurant for 45 minutes and they don't see you clean any of those high touch areas, they're going to ask you questions and or leave a bad review. And so I think that, you want to have a really great plan on how am I making sure that I'm, literally cleaning the doorknobs, or any other high touch areas, on a 10 to 30 minute rotation, like literally ensuring that we are constantly sanitizing. Well, not sanitizing, disinfecting, these high touch areas to just create a peace of mind while they're dining, but also to ensure that, we keep our restaurant safe. And so I think like that's part of the moving slow, right? Like start with just a shift. That way you can physically show your team what you want it to look like, and you can coach in the moment, and then of course have checklists and signs. But I think that will be something that you got to kind of plan for both. You got to ensure your customers are seeing you cleaning while they're dining. I think that's going to become a big component in how people determine if they feel safe.
Yes, I agree.
Have
anything? Oh, go ahead.
One thing that we haven't touched on as far as expanding services is, we in the restaurant industry have been pretty antiquated with the way we do business, and it was okay. We could get away with it. But now more than ever, it's important to really focus on your online presence and make sure that you have put some measures in place so that people can find you on the internet and, you know, employ your services easily. So, you know, make sure that you have an online ordering system that is easy to navigate, and move towards a contactless payment system. You know, if you go to all these measures to reduce contact and then somebody has to hand you the card to pay, you know, you've broken that barrier. And then, you know, focusing on adapting to what the new needs of your customers are, and, you know, maybe making family meals instead of single serve, or take and bake items that are going to be easy to transport and that people are going to enjoy fresh, you know, out of the oven, instead of, you know, possibly having it sit over delivery.
Yeah. So actually, that's going to be our next questions that about the you actually just was able to speak on that, so that was really great on that. One thing that I know that's our next question, but one thing that didn't come up on how will a lot of restaurants be needing to give like masks out when they're training, or I know Alabama has passed a law that everybody's required to.
Oh, yeah. I've been writing some notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I saw that the CDC, and at least for Georgia, they're requiring that masks are needed for the hostess and for the servers. And then sometimes in the back of the house, we're going to have face shields. So this depends on what your local health department says, because those are going to be requirements when they do reopen up the states.
I think I saw a question pop up on the screen, and it was about alternative revenue sources in COVID-19.
Yeah, that's our next. Actually, that's our next question. What are some of the alternative business concepts to keep you going in the restaurant industry after COVID-19?
I could touch on that just a little bit. Some of my customers and people across the United States have set up marketplaces in their stores. So, you know, kind of making your restaurant into a makeshift supermarket type experience. You know, a lot of people are not really thrilled about going to a grocery store and having an experience there where it's crowded and, you know, people are not practicing social distancing. And a lot of the stores are out of some of the, you know, regular items, flour and baking items and meats. So you could easily kind of take some of the items that you already have in your inventory and package them for home use and do resale that way. And then another alternative revenue source would be to do a ghost kitchen, and kind of like Deidre, what you are saying with your, it sounds like you have a shared kitchen. Is that correct?
Yeah, like that's basically what we are. We're a ghost kitchen facility. Okay. That's what we do is we have buildings, and we have anywhere from, you know, 20 to 30 private kitchens. So we function a little bit different than a commissary. Like you have 4 walls, you have a door. And so this is your own private space. But that is another term in which people use a ghost kitchen, virtual kitchen, delivery kitchen.
One thing that I was going to say is that you could potentially have 2 concepts running out of one location. So you already have a physical location and you know, a menu and a customer base. But the way you could potentially increase your volume is by having an online concept that you run out of your restaurant that doesn't have a physical presence. So you would just set that up as a online ordering and delivery.
Yeah, and Sarah's like stealing my answer. That's exactly what it is. You know, what I would say is that a lot of, restaurants I talk to, um, uh, this is a time for you to fight or flight, right? Like, how are you going to change or pivot? And this is a great time to be creative. And to Sarah's point, you can use your physical brick and mortar storefront and create what we consider virtual brands on the delivery service platform. So this is a great time for you to test a new concept if you've always wanted to do it, because since it's delivery only, right, it doesn't confuse your customer base. The only people that are coming physically into the building for this new concept is the delivery drivers, right? And you post the address, but from a customer perspective, if they're looking on the app, they don't know that it is not a standalone brick and mortar business, right? So if you traditionally do a pizza brand, right, and you think you've kind of like penetrated the market for everyone that wants your type of pizza, and then you've always thought about like, oh, if I had the capital or the time, I might start a chicken brand or, a sandwich brand. This is a perfect time to do it. You don't need to do much besides create a new menu, create new photos of your food, and sign up with the delivery service platforms. And so now you're keeping your staff busy because now you have multiple streams of customers, right? And you're more visible on the platforms. So not only do people search you under the pizza cuisine tag, they're also searching you, under the chicken or sandwich cuisine tag. And so we've seen a lot of restaurants take this as an opportunity to kind of get creative to increase the revenue and try to replace some of that walk-in traffic that they may have lost. And so I would say, virtual brands are definitely a great way for you to try to grow your revenue as we stay in this delivery and pickup space for a very long time, right? There'll be very few dining halls that we see, go back to normal, even, in places where there are no limitations. Like people are still going to be cautious. People are still going to take their time. And so although your city or state might be open, you might not see that front of house revenue come back in anytime soon. And so this is a time for you to try, multiple brands. It's for most restaurants that we work with, it's been wildly successful for them.
Yeah. Thank you, Deidre. That's great. Tiffany, did you have something?
And I think they touched on everything. It was mostly virtual and changing up your brand, like Deidre was saying. Now you can pretty much switch it up. You can do chicken, you can do pizza, you can do whatever you want now because you won't have like your menu will be shortened down and you'll have more time on your hands to pretty much put out more food in different varieties.
Yes, I agree. We're going to go ahead and go on. Thank you all. We'll go ahead and go with our next question. Are there any support / resources from food vendors or safety to assist restaurants?
Well, as a food vendor, I can speak to this one. We have so many resources, and I will email them to you so you can pass them on to the members of the group. But if you go to Cisco/foodie, or no, it's ciscofoodie.com/COVID, there are tons of resources there with checklists for opening and lists on guidelines and menu redesign services and all kinds of resources there.
Yeah.
And I would say check with your food service provider, whoever they are. I'm sure that all of them have a tremendous amount of resources to provide.
I know restaurantowners.com has a bunch of templates as well for restaurants, and then OSHA offers a no-cost on-site safety and health consultation for restaurants. And then for us at Safety Solutions, we will do free consultations. And on our website, I'll send it over to you, Ms. Jackie. We have a bunch of resources as well for trainings for the staff. So there's like a bunch of free things out there. The NRA has a bunch of guidelines for restaurants that are free. for anybody to pick up and use as far as templates and guidelines.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, guys.
From a cleaning and disinfecting perspective and chemicals and that stuff, I would urge all restaurants, hopefully you're working with Ecolab, but if not, we understand. But use your chemical provider as a resource. You don't have to be the subject matter expert on disinfecting or cleaning, but for all our customers, we offer free training, and all of our people are looking for customers to help right now. So we offer free training on how to apply the disinfectants, how to clean, what the frequency should be. And then from a tracking and checklist perspective, we have a website, cleanwithkeystone.com, that we created in accordance with Cisco, and there's a ton of resources on there. We have step-by-step cleaning guidelines for every area of your restaurant, long PowerPoints. I've urged a lot of customers, just print it out and laminate it and throw it up in your different areas of your restaurant so that your staff walks in and they clearly see what they need to do, what the previous cleaning tasks were and what the new normal is. So use all your resources. There is a lot of free stuff out there. I know there's some on the GRA website. There are some free serve safe delivery and takeout videos as well. So use all your resources, but cleanwithkeystone.com, there's a ton of really, really good stuff on there as far as cleaning and disinfection.
Okay, great. Awesome. We're gonna go ahead and go with the next question. This pandemic has had a ripple effect on the whole supply chain, with the outbreaks happening in the meat facilities and the farmers having to sell their crops directly to the consumers. What effects will this have on food supply and costs for small businesses? And what are the ways that businesses can save on food costs?
I know definitely there's going to be a shortage for a lot of supplies, like sanitizers and anything that has to do with safety as far as like hygiene. Is going to be a very large shortage of that. But trying to work with your local farmers, I know a lot of local farmers, at least here in Atlanta and the Georgia area, are going to be hit hard because of like everything that's happening. So try to work with them, and they can definitely give you guys more resources than the larger chains would probably be able to do, because everyone's going to Cisco. No offense to you guys, but everyone's going to Cisco and US Foods, and the local guys will have the things you probably might not even know that they had before.
Sarah, you got anything to speak on that one?
I would say that with regards to supply, it's going to be important to be flexible with your menu offerings, because we really don't have any way of knowing what products are going to be short. At any moment, a factory could shut down because of an outbreak and cause a ripple, as you said, through the industry. So it's just going to be really important to be agile with how you react to shortages. And to have a backup plan for how you're going to, if you always use chicken thighs, maybe you could use breasts instead. Or if you have a ribeye on the menu, maybe you put it down at market price instead of having a specific price on the menu, because prices are going to be fluctuating tremendously.
Thank you. Deidre, do you have anything to add on to that? Anything that you guys are recommending for people that are using with the ghost kitchens?
Yeah, like we're already seeing some restaurants that are running into supply chain issues. And I think Sarah hit it on the head, is be flexible. I think one thing restaurants don't give themselves credit for is that customers, very little of people coming to order are ordering for a specific menu item, right? Like if they want your food, like they'll pivot, like, this type of burger isn't available, let me go to a chicken sandwich, right? Like people are willing to do that. So I think being flexible, and then highlighting what you do have, it could be by doing an extra promotion on that one to encourage them. So if you know you have a beef shortage coming, get ahead of it, right? Like start getting your customers to buy chicken or pork instead. by, you know, having special promotions on those products versus the beef. And that way you can kind of, you know, wage your bets and, you know, keep your food supply ahead of time. So I think, you know, taking some time to kind of really, you know, analyze what it is that you want to do. And then again, right, the ghost kitchen is another great way to also help you with this, right? If you are only in burgers and there's no beef, right? Like you don't want to shut down, right? So like, do you create a chicken sandwich concept? This is a good time to try your hot chicken concept that you want to try. If you ever start at a brick and mortar, right? So I think being able to pivot and use your brand to your advantage with new menu items, and being okay, incentivizing people to give it a try by a lower price at first, because once they like it, then, you know, people will pay, you know, what you want them to pay for it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that goes back to your marketing, and we talked about that yesterday, and collective buying, you know, as well, trying to, you know, team up with, you know, my organization teaches on teaming up with other restaurant owners, you know, not just trying to be that only person, you know, buying. You know, you might have to, you know, join forces with someone just to kind of help out with your, you know, buying and cost, whatever. Okay, let's go to the next. Food delivery services have increased, but restaurants have complained about the cost of using third-party delivery services. What are some ways to make these services more affordable for restaurants?
Hiring independent driver contractors instead of using Grubhub and what's the other ones out there, DoorDash and Uber Eats. Hire your own driver and offer that instead to the customers. I think that'd be a great way to train them the way you want them to be trained, and making sure that they're following your protocols, and also cutting out the cost of the middleman.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that one.
Yeah, you know, I have a different approach. You know, I actually say don't hire your own drivers, but what you can do, because like that's a labor that you have to pay for, right? So the good thing about the delivery service platforms is that you're only paying for drivers when you need them. Where if you're hiring your own drivers, right, like now you have this payroll that you have to absorb, and in this time, you want your fixed cost to be as low as possible, and your variable costs to kind of be the things that are moving. As your demand increases, your costs increase, right? And so, but to piggyback on Tiffany there, you can use the delivery service platforms like Grubhub and DoorDash as your driver service, but not use their platform services, right? So, and it creates the same thing that you only get a driver when you have an order that needs to be delivered. So Grubhub as well as DoorDash offer a delivery service driver program that is independent of their platform app, right? And so those are ways that you can do that. You know, the delivery service platforms are, you know, I call them frenemies, right? Like they offer a lot of great space, but they are, you know, expensive. So I think there are lots of things you can do. One, build your brand and drive customers to your website, right? So that's something that I encourage people to do, right? If you're starting a new brand or you're coming into a new market, you want to get on every delivery service platform and just understand that you're paying this cost to acquire new customers. However, what you need to do while you're on these different platforms is, this is when I talk about building your own customer base, is what type of thank you cards do you have attached to your bags? What type of coupons do you have attached, you know, that the next time they order, are you giving them 10% off if they order through your website versus going through DoorDash, right? How can you move them off of finding you only on the platforms and create a habit that they go to your website, which you're not paying a commission structure for, right? So there are ways in which you can, you know, pivot your customer base to your, you know, website. And then if you are in a position where your business is booming, you can hire your own drivers. You know that it's not any unused labor. But if not, you can still contract your orders that are coming through your website through DoorDash or Grubhub, and you're only paying them to deliver the orders versus paying them to deliver your orders plus paying them 30% of the revenue share, right? So I think that there are different ways in which you can do that. I think another thing that a lot of restaurants don't take advantage of is there's an increased price elasticity on the platforms. People are willing to pay a little bit more. You should not be charging the same that you do in your restaurant on the platform. If you are charging $10 in the restaurant for a burger, it needs to be $11.50 on the platform. And this is going to help you absorb some of your revenue back from the revenue that you're having to share with the different delivery service platforms. It has been proven multiple times that your demand does not increase by doing this, but more importantly, your basket size, we do know, is normally higher on these delivery service platforms than people walking in. I think, again, right, this is not a time for us to put the cloud over us. This is a good time for us to kind of get creative. And it's another thing that you want to do is that there's people also look for complete meals on these delivery service platforms. And so you want to make sure that you have drinks as well as desserts. It increases your basket size. For those that are in the restaurant industry, you know that drinks have a high profit margin. So you want to make sure that people are adding that to their basket size to each order that goes out the door. Or it could be desserts, it could be a cookie. You're charging $1.50 for the cookie. It costs you 45 cents for that cookie, right? So these are different things that you can do to utilize the platforms where needed, but also find a way to keep your profit margins the same through using the platforms.
Okay, all right, thank you. Sarah, do you have anything to add on that? It's our last question. We're going to be opening up for Q&A.
I would just say that you could also sell some of your signature items on your delivery service and through your online platform. So if you have a signature rib rub that you use for your barbecue, you could package that and have that as an item that somebody could add to their basket when they're placing an online order, or even put some merchandise. If you have a cool baseball cap that is available, put that on there. Anything you can do to increase your profitability per order is going to help.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Deidre and Tiffany. Ben, we're gonna thank you guys. We're gonna open up for Q&A. So if any questions you guys like to ask the panelists, now is the time. So we'll wait and see if some questions are gonna be coming in. I have a question. Have you guys? I've been on top of doing the association. I do consulting, and some of my people I'm working with, we are doing some different alternative ways of drive-through. They might have not never had a drive-through, so and incorporating that, to increase their revenue as well. So those are a couple of things that I've been working with, some projects with a couple of restaurants, and trying to do things to help them out. So let's see if we got any questions yet. Well, don't look like we have any questions. So we're gonna be, I thank you guys for your time. Our last announcement, we just want to thank our community partners, the National African American Restaurant, Nightclub and Association, Fade Media, Black People Eat, Google Digital Coaches. Please stay tuned. Tomorrow, the panel discussions are on the Make It Last Forever. So we're excited about that. The panelists will discuss the stability and creating brand awareness. Continue to follow Black Restaurant Week on social media and future announcements. Thank you, Black Restaurant Week. They're great. They always, if you guys are not connected with them, you need to connect with them. If you're in the industry, definitely connect with them. It looks like we got one question. Ooh, wait a
That's a big question.
Right, you saw that.
minute.
I wish I had the answer for that one.
I think it's that we should all keep in mind that pandemics are going to be our future now, and that like we're going to have to put that into our thinking moving forward, because that's going to be our normal now. Like that's going to be something that people are going to see once they see. I don't think people are going to change their mind about food safety and hygiene anymore. I think they're going to always want to see that and have that focal point. Public health will always be a focal point because they're going to be running a business like we do the medical field. Like we have a close interaction with their guests and people. So I think that the same thing we're doing now, as far as like protecting our guests and making sure that hygiene is a pivot point in the thing that we're doing, is going to be the same thing 10 years from now. It'll probably be even more, because there'll be a lot more people that we'll be coming into contact with, and there'll probably be another virus that comes out. I don't think this is going to be the first of one. There'll be many, many other pandemics that come about, and just keep that in mind that this is our new normal moving forward.
Yeah. Sarah, Deidre, you have any comment on that?
No, I don't know, right? I don't think any of us do. The only thing I say when people ask me is, like, now that we know that, I think Sarah made a good point, like the restaurant industry has been very antiquated in the past. And so this is a great time for us to kind of learn and make ourselves prepared for, the next pandemic or the next anything, right? And make ourselves more accessible, spend more time on interacting with our customer base on a consistent basis, and making menu items quickly, right? And I think that, that's the only thing that I tell people. What I do say is that also, like, we already knew, like, the trend, 40% of food was already being delivery pre-COVID. And, there are plenty of projections that said, oh, in 5 years, it's going to be closer to 60 or 70. I think we might see that speed up, right? Like delivery and pickup is not going away. And so since we know it's not going away, how are we going to, get better at it? How are we going to figure out how to make better margins? And, also for some people, how can I have a successful delivery business without interacting with the Grubhubs or the DoorDashes or the Uber Eats? And so it's a good time for restaurant owners to, start putting together answers to all these different questions. So, but yeah, I wish I knew, but.
Yeah, no, that's a hard one.
It's a tough question. I mean, I think what we know is that people are always going to want to eat, and they're always going to want to go out to eat. So the landscape might change, but one thing Sarah said earlier was remain agile. So doing what worked for you the last 10 or 20 years might not work the next 10 years. You might need to change. You might need to adapt how you operate your business. You might need to adapt to a new business concept, whether it's takeout, delivery, a different experience in dining in the restaurant. So it's just be open-minded and remain agile. There's going to be demand in the next 10 years. It's a matter of what form it takes. So positive thoughts to Minnesota. Hope things are going well up there. But it's definitely it's a interesting outlook for the next 10 years.
Yes, it is. I know I posted a few weeks ago in Tokyo. They were showing how they had robots interacting as waitress for their guests at one restaurant in Tokyo. So I thought that was pretty neat, and like, oh wow, we might be coming to that one. Even though we like the engagement of dealing with people, realistically, we may not be, having that same engagement, with everyone like we used to.
John Taffer, I believe, is opening up a new restaurant in the Atlanta area. It might have been Alpharetta, and I heard him talk recently. He's a lot of restaurants across the country, that he sees the future of kitchens being more automated and being more like doctor's offices rather than the old kitchen you're used to seeing. So cleanliness and sanitation, much, much more important. Gloves, face masks, things like that. You see those in large scale food production centers, like large chicken factories, produce, beef factories, and that same idea on hygiene and sanitation and the real importance is going to trickle its way down to even a small mom and pop restaurant. So adapting those new cleanliness procedures now is only going to help you in the long run, because it's probably the new normal as far as a much heightened sense of cleanliness, disinfection, and sanitation.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I know in this restaurant they had slide doors, and it was a restaurant in Atlanta that had kind of like their restrooms would be touchless, like touchless everything. I forgot where if they closed, but it was pretty interesting. I thought about them
Was
as
it
well.
Dough Pizza?
Technology, huh?
Was it Dough? I think the pizza place.
No, it was. I was start with a B. Thing was bites or Bates or something like that. It was a pretty neat restaurant, but they were way Bates. Yeah, Bates. Yeah. They were
Oh yeah.
yeah, they had the slide restroom doors were touchless, just a lot of things that technology, the first technology restaurant. So completely owned by the same owners. Okay, okay. Awesome, awesome. Okay. Oh, he said owned by the same owners. Okay. Awesome, awesome.
Oh, same as Dough. Okay. Yeah, they had iPad ordering at the tables probably a decade ago. I have no sense of time at this point, but but they were way ahead of their time with it was reduced staff interaction. You did everything through the iPad, and then it just got delivered to your table, which I think might be time to revisit that.
Yep. Yeah, having the iPad or a kiosk. Yep. Yep. So we will post the video on Black Restaurant Week website for anyone that wants to rewatch it. Thank you all again for tuning in. Thanks to our community partners. And all the information that the panelists have to share, they will send it out. Black Restaurant Week will share that with everybody that participated, that registered. Thank you guys. If nobody else has any more questions, we will be ending our session here. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Ben, Tiffany, Deidre. It's a pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much. Appreciate everything you guys do to help the restaurant industry keep going. So thank you guys. And I know you guys it's been tough for everybody. So keep going. Thank you, everybody. Have a great, fantastic evening, and just keep going. Stay connected with everybody.
Thank
Black
you so
Restaurant
much.
Week. Thank you. Stay connected with the National African American Restaurant and Nightclub Association. We actually have, if you go on our site, we actually have a restaurant survival kit planner that I launched to kind of help, just a checklist. So we have information. So stay connected. We bring in experts like yourselves, to help out with in this time. So thank you again, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a great night.
Good
Thank you.
night.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Oh, I'm so tired.